Perfect. Well, excited to be able to get together for our second conversation about Cancer Action Day. I wanted to start, like I shared in my email, just kind of with an update on where we are, because things are ever changing, even since my Friday email, which this last time was on a Thursday, since I was out on PTO. But we are up to 60 registrations for Cancer Action Day, which is great. If you haven't looked at the most recent update to the spreadsheet, I'm really excited to say that we have those 60 signed up, and we are definitely pushing forward and continuing to increase that. So here's our sign up. You can see that that's where there's the 60. But what I wanted to highlight was just, again, calling out this spreadsheet that we had talked about in the last meeting, our first time together for Cancer Action Day planning, and really love that this is accessible for you all to see if you're recruiting certain people, if they are currently signed up. What I did here is I did highlight, in case anyone was wondering what this colored highlight was, I just went ahead and put some highlights of our Insurance and Health Committee chairs from the House and Senate side, just kind of as an FYI to us as some focus areas. And Leo definitely can weigh in if you feel there are any others we may want to highlight. But I know this was kind of our initial conversation since our last meeting. So again, that's kind of just as an FYI to us if we want to try to target recruiting in these particular areas where we might not already have individuals signed up for the day. Um, so really across the board, a great response so far. There are just a few districts where we don't have anyone signed up yet, so we can talk through that from a sense of recruitment too, but it isn't a large amount, which is really exciting. So wanted to start there with kind of just an update on where we are with recruitment and see if anyone had any questions in particular about that 60 that we have and kind of our next steps on continuing to get more signed up. Pam?
Hey, sorry I'm late. What about that representative that died? What are we going to do about him?
Oh gosh, I don't know that I knew that. Leo, do you have any insight? I missed that.
Yeah, so it was Representative Chris Jordan from Delaware County. Yeah, a longtime legislator. I guess let me ask you, what do you mean, what are we going to do about that?
I mean, is there anybody signed up for his meeting?
I think the full list is in his district.
What?
It's a great point. So Chris Jordan is the name?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's Perpoulas district.
Perpoulas not currently signed up, but we do have a Danielle Reed and a Laura Paget. So District 60 from the House, we have 2 people signed up, Laura Paget and Danielle Reed.
Laura Paget is one of the partners I work with from Genentech.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so she's very supportive of our biomarker bill. So what'll happen if you haven't seen this before, when a sitting legislator leaves or passes away, the Republican Party in this case gets to fill the seat because he was a Republican, and they will essentially open an application process. They'll take names, they'll interview, and then Speaker Stevens should be the one who gets the final say. And they will then probably immediately seat that person since it was an unexpected vacancy. I doubt that the seat would still be empty by the time we have Cancer Action Day. I mean, that seems like a long time for a seat to be empty, but who knows, right? With all the infighting that we've seen in the House, everything seems to be moving slower than typical. But I do expect that we would have a new representative in that seat by the time we get there.
I really appreciate you bringing that up, Pam. I went ahead and highlighted his name, and read for us just kind of as another another
Yeah.
visual for us to track.
Can,
And
yeah. Leo, if there is a person, can you let us know right away? That way we can maybe do some analysis on that person.
Sure.
yeah, that's something for us to track.
Thank you. And did you say we had 60 people?
Yes.
Oh, good. 40 more, 40 more.
My personal goal, yeah. So,
Or more.
currently our plans with the Sheraton are for 70. So definitely something I may need to follow up with their team on, which we did talk about plan A and plan B of up to 70, and then long shot goal of getting to, previous years, pre-COVID, that 100 like we've seen. So I'll follow up with the Sheraton if that keeps increasing. But Leo, I really like that you brought up that you recognize one of the names, from a partner. I do want to highlight that many of these names, as I'm getting their sign up and checking their address to put them in this spreadsheet, seem to be recruitments of potential partners of ours from the ACS side, from your efforts. I noticed if you look kind of in the central Ohio, Columbus area, we have a lot of OSU email addresses, OS Medical. So between you, Christy, potentially, our partners that we have on the ACS side who have Ohio State Medical as an account, I did notice there are quite a few Ohio State medical email addresses. And so I think, definitely if you haven't looked at the spreadsheet recently, I'm trying to update that daily. Check out if you recognize any of the names, as we have had over the last week, 2 weeks, a really large increase in our registration. So thank you to everyone. Keep it up, and we'll just keep that spreadsheet updated and look at some of those um, districts perhaps where we don't have anyone currently, and that can be our next steps in potential targeted recruitment to fill some of our areas where we don't have anyone signed up as of right now.
Sarah, you might check with Robin and Lauren and see registration versus attendance numbers as well.
That's a really great point. Yeah, we can compare cancellations from last year perhaps and monitor that.
Well,
so far, we've had one.
The only no-show we had last year, Julie, was our friend Harry Connerty, who ghosted us from day one. Other than that, last year, we only had one no-show, but it was an ACS staff member who texted me really, really early that morning that his mom went to the hospital. I know that last year was an anomaly, though. So historical no-shows are usually 20 to 40%, I believe.
Right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I remember Benjamin, was our ACS no-show, sadly, since his mom got sick. I remembered that. So that's good to know too from last year, but we should perhaps consider like a 20%, like you said, Robin, because that's super normal, right? When you think about large events, weddings, they always say to prep for that. So that's good for us to keep in mind as we're pushing through recruitment still over the next month and a half. So far, we've had just one, and I have highlighted that in red. That way we don't delete it out of the spreadsheet, but just kind of as an FYI, and I put in parentheses cancellation, and that was one of our ACS staffers who had a really large meeting invite come up, and so Kelly Standish in the Cleveland area sadly won't be able to join us, but had originally signed up. And she's with our corporate accounts team. So I think it was a targeted account. They had been hoping for a meeting for a really long time, and it just happened to be scheduled for the same day. But so far, just the one that I've heard from, and we'll keep monitoring that as we get closer to. And I'll highlight accordingly and make notes in the spreadsheet. Any other thoughts on recruitment or our registration so far? No? Well, Leo and I wanted to chat through resources and then would love to have open conversation and brainstorming around the engagement topic and hoping to get some particular kind of signups or next steps on who might want to own certain pieces when it comes to the engagement piece. But Leo and I, prior to tonight, had talked about getting a lot of your feedback on the one pager fact sheets that are a resource to us going into the folder and kind of prepping what all of our participants receive when they check in to Cancer Action Day, to be as a guide and a resource to you for that day. I know in the training subcommittee meeting that we had recently, another item that was suggested by that team of 5 was palm cards. So, in addition to our fact sheets, something that Leo and I will be working on, and we just got a template from our Minnesota friends on a palm card that they use. So we can kind of take next steps on that. That's essentially the fact sheet in a smaller version, if you will, kind of a more simpler layman's terms, maybe quarter sheet size, which is why they call it a palm card, to use as a reference when we're in meetings. So maybe you're not looking at the full fact sheet, but it's kind of a quick glance at some things to highlight and to mention in the meetings on each of our asks. So those are for sure 2 resources right off the bat that I wanted to bring up and discuss, and also just open it up for additional thoughts on resources that day. But Leo, did you want to add some specifics coming out of last year to this year, like we had talked about around those resources to get feedback on?
Yeah, so yeah, this would be really good time for us to hear, right, what's most useful for when you're going into meetings to have either on the fact sheet or on the palm card. Um, for example, I remember last year Robin and I got feedback about wanting to see the co-sponsors listed somewhere, so that way you guys could quickly reference that. I think that's a great idea and easy to add to um, definitely the fact sheet. Palm card might be a little tough because it's smaller, but we can try. So like that's just one, that was really good feedback to hear from whoever said that, and maybe it was more than one person too. So that's kind of the feedback we're looking for now as we start to prepare those fact sheets.
Leo, I normally use a fact sheet in advance to sort of craft my speech and spiel. It's always really good if there are 2 or 3 particular items that are highlighted and or bolded or stick out in a little bubble or something that you would like us to make sure that we somehow
Emphasize.
incorporate in our discussion.
Okay.
I'll add that the training team and I, that subcommittee, are working on a slide deck that was shared to me as a reference from our Indiana team, as a pre kind of guidebook to be able to share to all of our registered participants. So the training group and I are working on that. Just started that project last week before I went out on PTO, and we'll be meeting Thursday evening to talk through some of those additional things that we could add. I know Leo has also given some feedback on that. So once we add some resources that we've talked about to that, I can share that with the broader group as well, because I would love feedback on anything that might need to be added to that. So essentially, we've done training videos prior to Cancer Action Day, which will definitely be incorporated into this deck, but it'll kind of serve as our one-stop shop, if you will, to send to everyone that's registered, and hopefully will be a resource to prep everyone, whether you're a veteran who's been to many Cancer Action Days or a first timer that's never attended. It'll essentially be that guidebook to prep everyone. Um, and so it'll have things like what to expect, parking, our asks, all of those various things, social media tips. In previous years, I know we've had multiple one-pagers and things. So this kind of compiles all of that into one deck to send out. So we're working on that and the videos. Like Leo said, we'd love to work on going ahead and getting the palm cards and fact sheets. Are there other resources or things, feedback you have around those particular items that we could be working on as staff and the training subcommittee? That would be helpful. Anything you wish you had or saw?
I recommended this last year and I would do so again. Maybe, Leo, whenever you're over at the Capitol, if you could just pick up a few maps down by the gift shop. And then you could have one of those in each of our attendees' packets. Those are always nice to have. I picked a couple while I was at the policy forum.
Maps of the State House?
Yeah.
Okay. I doubt they're gonna let me take enough. Right?
I wonder if we could take a
would,
picture, like of some of the pertinent
or
information
scan them
in it.
in.
That's why I said anytime you're there,
Yeah.
just pick up a couple.
Yeah, I'll try. I'm
Okay.
not gonna promise to be successful at that one, but I will try.
Or we can just go ahead and get one and copy it and put it in the guidebook.
Yeah, that's what I think. I
Yeah,
will
wondering.
say the website has maps available and they're awful. They're not good. So I don't know that I've ever even seen the printed maps that they have at the gift shop. So but I'll definitely pick up a couple and see how useful they are.
Leo,
They're
do they
outside the
have
gift
a,
shop. There's a podium someplace and they're in that podium type thing outside of the gift
Yeah,
shop.
I
It's
think
in
I
the
know
map
exactly
book.
where. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I just never have picked up a map.
is there a map of the offices?
For the State House, yes, but they're just numbers. They're not names.
Okay.
And then the Rife Center, no.
Well, I say that because in my 15 or 16 years, I've gotten confused more than once.
Mhm.
When you go to 242, you think 244 should be next to it and it's 230 or something. I
Yeah.
think, where do these numbers come from? Oh.
Yeah, and people get tripped up because there's a ground floor, right? So there's a floor 0, right? Yeah. So it's confusing. I wish I had a better answer for that.
Yeah, so maybe just a way that we can highlight looking at their maps plus our own internal knowledge from historical reference, something that to add to our slide deck on navigating the State House. Just some tidbits, and we don't have to go in too much detail, but honestly, the advice I always give is the second you get through security, grab somebody and ask them where to go. That's my go-to, right? The second I walk through, I quite literally always ask the staff, I need to go here. Please help me.
Well,
They're very good with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it'd also be helpful if somebody text me and say, Pam, go to the cafeteria. What cafeteria? I don't know about, I'm not really worried about the offices so much as if somebody tells me to go someplace else.
Sure.
Yeah, like the landmarks, if you will, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meet us at the state room or the county, whatever.
The map room.
Map
Yeah.
room. Yeah. Map room so we can take a picture. That's the kind of thing that I know that I would like.
Definitely. Great feedback. Awesome ideas. Is there anything else would be important to add to our resources or to highlight? The next thing I'll work on is our actual PowerPoint for the day of. So what I referenced as far as the slide deck and kind of guide will be a resource prior to attending Cancer Action Day. But the next step that I would love to talk through with the training group and our planning efforts as we get closer will be kind of navigating that presentation the day of, and we'll work through that agenda and speakers and such. But if you have thoughts on the training resources outside of tonight, as you're thinking after the meeting, or for anyone that's not able to join us now for the meeting, and you watch the recording, please email Leo and I, and we'll work on adding any little bits and pieces that we can that would be helpful for everyone. I do want to highlight that we have a large chunk of attendees that are brand new, first timers. So that's why I definitely want to emphasize, our resources and really thinking about that experience. Christy, I know you just attended your first meeting ever with Leo not too long ago. So maybe think, from that perspective too, like as a very first timer, what you might want to ensure prior to coming. Because I do think some of us being veterans, we're used to the process, or we've seen it for so long. So I love, the feedback across the board for anyone that's never attended, or maybe you attended just for the first time or second time. Think through those various lenses, and let Leo and I know if there are things that, even though you haven't attended, Christy, as a first timer, what would you expect, I guess, as a helpful tool to have before you're attending and navigating the day. So would definitely love feedback on that as we continue to work through the next month and a half.
Sarah, a comment on the agenda.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's anyone that has a really standout relationship with their elected official, but one year, Lorna Hill and her rep, maybe it was a senator, I don't know, but they kind of had a little conversation about what everyone, especially newbies, would aspire to have, where the elected official actually on occasion reaches out to Lorna for facts and information from a constituent in the community. I don't know if we have anybody that kind of fits that bill, but for me, it struck a chord that, I go in occasionally and speak, and I give them information and then hope they vote with me. But for Lorna, it's more personal. And I would think that a lot of us would like to have that kind of relationship with an elected official.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to Senator Schuring, I think is her senator that she's connected with quite a bit. Yeah. Because when we even called to set
Actually,
up.
it was West.
Yeah, it was Tom.
Was
It
the
was
person who
West.
was hard to get to, but she did see him in the lobby right before Cancer Action Day. So she did meet up with him and set up a meeting, but West was the one, West and then Congressman Gibbs. She had close contact with both of them.
I don't think it was West, because it was a Republican that we were talking about that she met in the lobby of the Sheraton, and West was a Democrat.
Yeah, the lobby was Schuring, but she doesn't. Schuring doesn't respond well. He's not the person who responds well to anything or anyone.
Yeah.
It's her other lawmakers.
Yeah, but still, like his West or now you got me confused, Pam. Schuring's staff, even when like we called to set up the meeting, was like, "Oh, is Lorna coming?" Right? Like they know her. Yeah.
I think it is inspiring, right? And helps break down kind of a less intimidating factor, maybe for newbies. I know I'm inspired when you post things, Julie, about Jenna Powell attending our policy forum and taking a picture with you and then posting it to her page. Ran into Julie Turner at the policy forum. And I've always loved that. You had Phil Plummer come and speak at Relay one year. I think we could brainstorm something like that, but it helps for new individuals. I can't, I remember being new, I guess, is what I'm referencing back on, and watching you, Julie, as someone that obviously lives locally nearby me. It helps me feel less intimidated about hoping to strive for building a close relationship with my lawmakers if they were willing, right, to build that. But That is a really great idea or perspective of something we could think about when we're considering who speakers could be for that
Yeah.
morning.
Lorna just has a gift. She just, warms my heart because she just, instead of being scripted or practiced, she just throws it out there right off the cuff. And if she has an elected official or could talk about what she has done to foster that really great relationship with elected officials, I would have loved to have known that when I was in Christie's shoes.
Yeah, I'm just taking it all in.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to add because this first year I think is just going to be so much learning for me. But I do feel like I have an in with Jeff Luray.
Yeah.
I think we're going to develop a good relationship.
Definitely.
I think a lot of it depends on how well you know their staff too.
That's true.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
I was just
Any
thinking
other-
kind of more friendly,
Mhm.
engaging things that we could do.
Well, let's
So
switch
Julie, are
gears
you
into engagement. Yeah, Leo, if you have
sorry?
final thoughts.
Are you specifically talking about like the morning program?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always tough because it's tight, that schedule.
Yeah,
right?
it is
'Cause we want
tight. And
to get
folks are
everyone out.
nervous.
Yeah. Right.
Folks are, even as a veteran, I get nervous in the morning.
Mhm.
And I get my little notes out and refresh my memory on what I want to say. And
Yeah.
What happens in the morning?
I'm
So
sorry,
we'll
I didn't
do-
hear that.
What
Yeah,
happens in the morning? I have no idea what happened.
We,
So I
we
think,
all
yeah,
come together, Christy. We register and come and sit down in the room, and then we have a little program to kind of excite us and get us ready to go and remind us what we should do and don't do. And some staff is going to kind of refresh our memory on what bills we're going to talk about and why they're important. And then some people really kind of come and go because they have maybe an early meeting. Some people don't even stay for our little morning meeting because they've got to get to the State House or got to get to the Rife Center for a meeting. And so it's kind of crazy and wonky that people are milling around during the morning agenda. But I think that we did a nice job last year of putting people that had something to say about the pieces of legislation in front of people. That was good. But again, I think it's important that for me, when I get there and I'm registered and I go and sit down, now what do I do for a half an hour? Or if I don't know anyone and I'm not engaged with people, I'm just going to sit there and look around the room for a while. We need to be more creative, and we've done that for years. Get registered, go sit down.
One
Isn't that when we
presentation that I
also
really
do our
enjoyed-
awards?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pam.
Isn't it that when we do our awards?
Yes. Yeah. So that is
I mean,
something
we
I
haven't
was
even
gonna bring
talked
up.
about that yet. We haven't even
Yeah.
talked about that yet.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that something we will be doing this year again?
I was planning on it. So yeah, so we typically do give two legislative awards. We try to give one to a Republican and one to a Democrat. So last year, in addition to having Manchester and West there to get their awards and to briefly speak, we also had White there to kind of give the rah-rah speech right around biomarker testing, since that was brand new. So she's gonna get one of the awards, Representative White, for being such a great champion on this bill. The Democrat leaning towards Senator Antonio. She's been gosh, on the health committee for a long time, both in the House and Senate. And then she was recently promoted this year to minority leader in the Senate. Usually when you become the minority leader, you give up those standing committees and you don't serve on those committees anymore. But she kept the health committee because she's just so interested in that area. So she's probably going to be the Democrat. I just need to kind of finalize that, but we're set on Rep. White being the Republican that we recognize. And then hopefully both of them can be there that morning to receive their award and say a couple words.
And I strategically, in talking to Leo about those awards, because Rep. White is in the Dayton-ish area, in one of the suburbs near me, I strategically thought about people I knew in my network, who could be there because I think it's important. What I would love to see in a perfect world is if we're going to give someone an award that they would get to engage with an individual that day, in attendance at Cancer Action Day. So I do have Ben Heil, Julie, that's a name you might recognize, registered for the first time. He's a 28-year-old who lost his dad to cancer, and his dad was a long-time relayer that Julie and I have known. And he sadly lost his battle to cancer, and now Ben rides Pan Ohio in his dad's memory. And so I did ask Ben if he'd be interested in attending, and he's already registered. And so that's kind of the Kettering, Moraine, Miamisburg suburbs. So I'm excited that he'll get to meet with her and kind of grow a relationship with her. But I do think this is a great segue into our engagement piece. So the feel of attending Cancer Action Day, I think, is really important. When you get there and you're in the room, like you said, Julie, we've done a variety of things over my 8 years I've attended and 10 years as staff knowing about Cancer Action Day. And I would love for each of us to share ideas. Christy has already sent me one, so I know I told her I would bring that up to share with the team. But when you envision what it's like when you get in the room, I think is important for us to talk through and ideas of engagement throughout the day. So in addition to like sharing a PowerPoint and us talking about what the agenda looks like, Christy's idea was around something she and her husband attended recently. It's a slideshow that can be playing as you walk in. So it doesn't necessarily have to come with a script per se or us speaking to people, but it's something that could be rolling um, as everyone's getting breakfast, sitting down, finding their seat. It was something from the Ohio Art Education Association. And it was individuals holding up signs that they had taken a picture of prior to the event that said why art matters. And they're really impactful when you kind of look at this example of someone, why they were attending this event, why it was important to them. And so it was kind of, here's one, just I can go through a couple examples, but very basic idea of us submitting pictures perhaps on why Cancer Action Day is important, or we could use our hashtag, which is Ohio Fights Cancer, and we can say Ohio Fight Cancer for. It could be we could think about this as our why, on why we do our advocacy work, why we're attending Cancer Action Day. But they're essentially just, it could be a rolling PowerPoint. I could add music to it. My husband is more than happy to help with sound and kind of the engagement of if we want to do, music playing while people come in so it's not quiet. But I think a visual that people could be watching, to your point, Julie, if they don't know anyone and they don't have someone to naturally go right up to and say hi, what could be around us and happening in the room for that little bit of time before our presentation starts, before our agenda begins. Um, I would love feedback on the idea of kind of a picture PowerPoint. If we could all rally behind that, we could be submitting photos and building that now in advance. And I know Christy offered to own that project with their husband, and we could kind of get a PowerPoint going as people send in photos from our network of their why or whatever we'd like to be on the paper for the pictures. Any thoughts or things to add to the idea?
Love it. I'm in.
Do we
Oh, that
like
makes
the
me
idea?
happy.
Yeah. Do we like the idea of using our hashtag? I think that's something I know Pam and Vince, we talked about in our touch base together as SLA, Vice SLA, but um, we could roll off of that Ohio Fights Cancer to relate it obviously to Cancer Action Day, but for many reasons to come, right? Because it would be our generic Ohio Fights Cancer. And then if there are any other future social media efforts or whatever it may be, we would have these as a reference to use as well for our kind of why. Vince, I think you had an idea about the city
Yeah,
element
I
as
was gonna
well.
say one, we should use the hashtag and not necessarily Cancer Action Day, only because then we could use the picture for multiple purposes. So you can translate to a number of different things, which Chrissy is a great idea. But also with your sign, Ohio Fights Cancer for, and your reason why, your why, but you would do it in front of a town sign where you live. For instance, I would probably do it in front of an Akron sign where it has, home of LeBron James, that kind of thing, just because it kind of highlights the area. But I think I could do it as small as my township and show that too. So I think it doesn't really matter how big or small the town is, just showing, again, I think that shows representation from all across the state. The more pictures we have and the more we have diversity in locations, it just lends itself to this is all of Ohio that's represented in what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I was
I
gonna say,
saw-
Jake, my husband said that when you make your poster, it has to be on white sheet of paper and it has to be very large and visible in like Sharpie black marker so it can be read easily in a photograph.
Yeah, we could definitely guide everyone. I could make that as part of our Friday email, if whoever's willing to, take a picture, I can share those examples that you sent with me, Christy, and see if we can get photos from across the state. That way it's for folks that maybe have never attended, it's at least a visual of, oh my gosh, look at all these people in the room. We have a large representation of us, and it's important to a lot of people for various reasons. And you don't even have to talk to them to know their why necessarily, because you'll get to see kind of this inspiring PowerPoint playing as you're sitting there eating your breakfast and drinking coffee. I loved the idea. I'm glad everyone is in agreement, and we can kind of take next steps on asking folks to submit their pictures. Julie, can I share your idea next? It kind of goes in conjunction to that Julie has offered as a visual in the room, in addition to our regular signage and maybe if there is music playing or not. If anyone, as a part of our email, thank you for attending Cancer Action Day, which I will be working on. For all of our folks that are registered currently, Julie had offered to do kind of a collage of the state of Ohio, an image that we could blow up in some way, some form, to put on the wall somewhere in the room as folks enter, a picture of where everyone is from and have that visual of all of us as dots in our photos on the map. And if someone doesn't want to submit a picture, Julie had a really great idea. We could just pull kind of a graphic of either a superhero or, you're a superhero in the fight against cancer, some kind of little character image if the person doesn't submit a photo, but a visual for us to see the impact of where everyone's from representing the state. It could serve as a backdrop for photos. I really loved the idea and wanted to share that and appreciate Julie, you sharing the idea and your artsiness, being willing to create a nice visual of some kind for that. Does
It would
anybody
be
have
good for
thoughts on
social
that?
media.
Yeah,
It would be great to use in social media, Julie.
totally agree. Any thoughts on that? Additional ideas for Julie as I can make that ask in the email to folks. Again, as the thank you for registering, are you willing to submit a picture of yourself? We're going to make a visual of everyone from across the state. If not, we'll just do a little character item. But I think it'd be a really great visual for folks when they walk in to go look at and find where they are on the map and take a picture of it to use as follow up for social media. I think it's a really great visual. I would love to try to own making a photo prop. Julie, I might need your help on this because you are one of the artsiest people I know. But when I go to events, we always have kind of this frame made of foam board or cardboard. I've seen it made various ways, but essentially a box that you can hold that has a hashtag at the top or a date and what you're doing, but it's kind of a social media frame, if you will, and a lot of people can hold it, take a picture, and then post it. I kind of envision Julie like you're Ohio in the background, and I would love to hold like a little frame and have someone take a picture of me with that. But I wanted to try to make something like that for a photo prop opportunity. So as people are coming in the room, if they want to take a picture, they have something that they could hold. Um, that is quite literally like a frame about the day. I think we had those years ago that might have been made from the national team. I know they don't make them anymore, so I was going to try to recreate something like that as a photo opportunity for folks to be able to engage in when they're trying to kill time prior to the presentation or even after when they're there for lunch, in between their meetings. If they haven't taken a picture, we could ask folks to kind of go to that area and I
think
know we could come up with props if we wanted to that they could hold.
I think
Well, my
Robin
thought-
made one.
Did you? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I think Robin made one. Maybe it was for like our volunteer training that we did at the library.
We did have one there.
Yeah.
I have a picture with my daughter that we took.
Mhm.
So there are some from that, but I want to say that was the one that we had at the training was holiday or Halloween themed.
Oh, yes, you're right. Now that you say that. Yeah.
And the ACS CAN one, there's smaller ones and larger ones, and that basically has something about cancer research on it. So
Right.
it wouldn't necessarily work well with this one, but
That's what I was thinking. Just a generic one that I could make that's just about Cancer Action Day with our hashtag on it. Um, I'll send. I can send a photo example from previous relay years and things that um, the idea that I'm thinking of. But basically, a photo prop area opportunity for everyone to engage in taking photos prior to leaving for the morning or when they come back to the Sheraton and they're in the room and need something to do, if you will, in between their meetings. So that's something I'd like. Do we have ideas for engagement throughout the day as well? We've done a scavenger hunt. Thoughts on if that's been successful? And are there other ideas that anyone would like to present for us to consider?
I have two thoughts. One is when we're there, and I'm not trying to call people out. I think it's a kind of run with me because this is just an idea that popped in my mind. But having something where, for instance, Christy's going to be there for the first time, letting people know that this is her first time, so others can come and welcome her. Because I know last year when it was the first year, the difference was there were a lot of people that I saw virtually like this. So there were people that I wanted to see and say hello to. But I didn't engage with everybody. And I think the intention would be more to be welcoming to the people that, especially if we're getting a lot of first timers, to make sure that the people that have been there a few years, one, welcome them, but two, offer, because we're going to have mentors, we're going to do all those things. But like Julie said, you're nervous that morning. So if they have questions, they just want to bounce things off, they just want to talk to somebody, just seeing what we could do to make people being there for the first time feel welcome and help them get comfortable with what we're going to be participating in. That's one thought. And we could all, in fact, wear like something that says, this is my fourth Cancer Action Day. This is whatever it is, so it's not like we're trying to point out people this their first time. Another idea, and this is probably a sort of a team building type thing too, is I was at a board retreat in January, and we did what we called board bingo. So there's like multiple squares. I don't know if you've ever done this or not, but there's a box that traveled to a foreign country, ran a marathon, have a twin, have green eyes. So what you need to do is to fill out all your boxes. You need to go around and talk to people to fill in these different places. That one just gets people, I mean, one is something to do, but two, it gets people to interact and to get to know each other maybe a little bit better. I'm trying to think of other things. Have a master's degree, different things like that. Just born in another state, whatever.
Yeah, I've done those before, Vince, and I always learn something new about people I've known for a while,
Yeah.
right? Not just people I've never met before, right? So that's nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sarah, I think Jen Howard probably has one from our staff meeting.
I was just
And
gonna say
yeah,
we did that at our all staff meeting, our Ohio, West Virginia all staff meeting, just a few months ago for last year. And like Leo said, even though we know each other, many of us, you still learn new things, and it's a reason to get up, interact, um, and get to know, people in the room. And that could be a ability to then talk about the welcoming, like you said, Vince. Oh gosh, this is your 10th year attending Cancer Action Day. Or if you are, new for the first time, that would be an easy opportunity for us to say, thank you for being here. It's your first time. Can I help you in any way? If I was a veteran and I was talking to someone just trying to fill out my bingo board as well, but I saw this visual, whatever the welcoming ability badge could be, we can kind of brainstorm on that. I do think having something we could have individuals fill out that says how many years, and where in some way would be really a great idea. And I do like the bingo interacting ability.
Well, and
Are there other
also,
thoughts?
last year was 30 some odd people, where
Right.
if we're at 70 or more, we really need to push people to come together. Not that people wouldn't want to have dialogue, but the
Yeah.
more people you get, the less interaction you're going to have overall.
No, I agree. We're gonna have a lot of, like you said, people in the room. So how do we bring some of them together, especially if they're first timers, don't have any connection to us already? Um, this is a great way for them to feel welcome, engaged, and kind of break the ice, if you will,
Is
of
there a
showing up.
way of somehow pairing up newbies, like first timers, with a person somehow?
We will. So we will have
Oh,
mentors, um, that is really designated around your meetings, right? So we'll assign a mentor, um, so that no one goes to a meeting alone, essentially. So I do think we encourage our mentors to try to go find the individuals that they're supporting, but sometimes if you don't see them prior, if they're not able to turn their camera on for a Teams get together or whatever it may be, you might not know who they are in the room, I guess, even when you show up and are prepping with them prior to the meeting. Um, it could still be difficult to identify who your mentees are that you're going to meetings with, for our mentors. Um, I know some try to say, here's my cell number. When you get there, let me know. We've had a variety of ways our mentors have engaged with their attendees, but we will have mentors. So I can definitely confirm that, Christy, you know, to make sure everyone's ready for their meetings. But this could be a way just in general for people in the room to interact. We can obviously encourage photo opportunities. Are there other things throughout the day beyond just the morning ideas we would like to see for the time in between, again, meetings, or if you're coming back for lunch? I think Pam, you had Pam Neese brought up to me some kind of way we could potentially think about incorporating lights of hope. That's something we haven't necessarily done heavy in the past, but could we get creative on how we bring lights of hope to that day in some way? And again, we've done a scavenger hunt in the past, and if everyone fills it out, you know, they can come back and get kind of an item, a gift, just a way for folks to try to get engaged at the State House and around the area. If we do want to try to bring that back. I don't know how much of a response we got, if anyone knows offhand, on the scavenger hunt last year or previous years. Do we know what kind of return it brought, I guess? And are there other ideas instead that we could try to incorporate for the rest of the day beyond the morning? I think your interactive ability with the bingo board is a great idea for the morning, though, Vince, if everyone's in agreement. I really do like that.
That can carry through to lunch too.
We could, yep. Anything else anyone's been thinking about for engagement? I can kind of send a follow-up email since we're missing a handful of folks tonight, to see if there were other ideas. I can share, Vince, your idea about the interactive activity in the morning and the badge idea, and see if it sparks anyone's thoughts on what could that visually look like, you know, to identify first timers and also just years in attendance. So I can share those two, Christy, plus your idea for the folks that aren't on, but we'll definitely move forward with the signs and slideshow, Julie's idea of the map.
Is there any way you were talking about at the for engagement, other ideas? You said lights of hope. Is there any way that there could be like an art station where people could decide they want to purchase a light and they want to like put one together? We could have like little pieces of you know, art or whatever that they could glue on and make it be easy, but I mean not real time consuming.
Yes, we've had that before, Christy. We
Have you?
had, yes, oh yes. We just didn't have it last year. Yes, and it works. We've had several, and it didn't necessarily go to one person. It went to a general fund.
Our state page,
Yeah,
perhaps.
our state page. Girls and Vince. Last year, I know that Lorna brought a gift basket. And I think it was for a scavenger hunt. However, I don't think anybody did it, but one person maybe, and she just gave the basket away.
Sure.
So I don't know if it was announced clearly or whatever that's what it was for, because people were eating the candy out of it, I think.
And it makes you wonder. That's why I asked if we knew. So I appreciate you jumping in to kind of share what, you know, if we felt like in between meetings, was that too much for folk? Like, is it easier to put things at the Sheraton, you know, for them to come engage with and do because it's physically there, right? So like the Lights of Hope, donate, create your bag if you want, take a photo at the station, find your picture on the map, take a picture with it. You know, that's why I wondered if thinking in that capacity at the Sheraton was easier for folks to be able to engage and do something. I know I've always loved, Julie, you showed those old picture frames, the picture cure. Gosh, I think that was 2017 or 18. I remember coloring one of those.
Yep.
Maybe it was earlier. I don't know what year that was.
We've
But
had
it
'em
was a fun
forever.
activity. Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember doing that during lunch. Like, it was something for me to fill out and kinda decorate and then take a picture of. So,
And I know,
activities like that are
right.
fun.
And I know that we've had scavenger hunts in the past where Lauren would um, take a picture of the map room, or do this or do that, and you get a little button. So the scavenger hunts are okay, yes. However, I think we need to really let the people know this is what this is for.
Sure.
Yeah,
If
I would
we
also add, obviously agree with Pam, communicating, what the prize is or what the purpose of the activity is. But if we are going to do any kind of prizes or giveaways, they either be done in the morning or at lunch, because in the afternoon, I mean, that's so hard, right? To get everyone
Yeah.
back, and schedules change. I remember last year, a couple people, their meetings got moved to like 4:30, right? And we were supposed to be done by 3. So
Right,
that's kind of the things we
right,
have to anticipate as well.
right.
I have these red cups. Can you see them? These
Mhm.
plastic cups. I have sleeves of these cups I'd like to get rid of if anybody wants, if we could think of something to do with these cups.
Oh, I've never seen those before. I'll take some.
Yeah. I
Bring
think
them
I
to me, Julie.
Okay.
And now they're
Go,
vintage
Fred.
because they have the old logo.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've got the
Ah,
old
yes,
logo.
they are vintage. Look at the back. It says, together we can be the generation that ends cancer.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
probably got, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4 sleeves of those.
How many in a
Jeez.
sleeve?
2, 4, 6, 8. So it could be a
Oh,
prize full of candy or
yeah.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So a thought I had was, in the morning, as we walk up to speak, to start our agenda, a meeting I have been to before to really spark the energy and get people excited about, oh, Sarah or Leah or whoever is going to start is coming up to speak, is kind of the Oprah Winfrey, if there's a dot under your chair, you win a prize and come up and get it. And it kind of just like starts that energy of like, oh gosh, everybody starts looking under their chair. Do I have a sticky note or do I not? And then you just go and hand out. We used to do it in the relay days, Julie, to start meetings, like to try to gather everyone to stop talking and then like bring the energy up, to start the actual agenda of your speech, was to say, everyone check under your seat, welcome. And then it kind of gets everybody excited. However many, we have 70 people in the room, we put 10 sticky notes, whatever we want, but it's just a fun way to give out prizes, start the energy. We could definitely take your cups, Julie, and give those out since they're vintage, but I intended on giving everyone, just so you know, an updated lapel pin with the new logo and a lanyard. That is what I have currently already ordered for us to have, as everyone gets that for attending regardless. We'll give everyone with their folder a lapel pin and a lanyard. But I love the idea of like we could use some of our vintage items to start. If everyone likes that idea, that's how we could start the day, just to get people up and moving, check their seat, give out some prizes. I love it.
This is vintage as well.
I think those
Jane,
are good for relays and events though. I like those.
my husband being an art teacher, he just keeps throwing ideas out in the background. He doesn't want to speak. So he thought of an idea of having a kind of a life-sized interactive mural. So it's a big interactive drawn out cancer ribbon per se, that it's empty inside, and we could take where each person or anybody who wants to colors an area of it or draws out a little square, and then they put in their words of hope, some thoughts about maybe a family member, a friend, somebody that had cancer. And by the end of the day, the whole ribbon gets filled in by people's thoughts, feelings, whatever, all having to do with cancer. And then in the end, the ribbon would all be filled out with that. And they would be using markers, crayons, whatever. And it would be all in red, though, for the cancer ribbon.
I've seen that. So we used to have a banner that was squares that you filled out, that you would fill out your whatever the prompt was, and then we could use those banners later. I think it's something we could easily put together with just paper. I envision just using paper to
Yeah.
form a ribbon and tape to the wall, perhaps.
Yeah.
Next to the lights of we could do the Lights of Hope table.
Yeah.
Obviously have our bags, promote Lights of Hope, but next to the markers have folks fill in their why or their feelings for the day. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Julie, you
This
did.
I
Mhm.
did a hope on it's actually a bathroom renovation pressed board that's got a white shiny surface, and the back was like brown. So it wasn't very heavy. I put those letters on there, and the purple and white Post-it notes were in honor and in memory. One color was in honor, one color was in memory.
Oh, that's
So that
awesome.
would be Christie's ribbon. We could do something like that with it.
Have people just fill out sticky notes and put them in
Yeah.
the area. I love it. So we don't want to do too many things, right? We think about,
Right.
so if a couple folks could be willing to help us with the Lights of Hope table and encouraging individuals to fill out either their sticky note or write directly on a cancer ribbon. We'll need, individuals to sign up to own that table and that craft. Obviously doing the bingo board is something we can make, and have events already printed. So we don't necessarily need someone to own that, other than we'll make it and make sure it's a part of when you check in, you get your paper. Same with the badge. I like that because it's something we'll just have done and made as part of your check-in. So really right now, activity wise for the day, because Julie, your Ohio image would already be made in advance too, is the sticky note craft idea of filling out your reason and being there, and potentially a Lights of Hope table for purchasing bags and decorating that would go to our state page. Those would be the two areas we would need folks to man day of, if you will. Everything else is prepped in advance, like our slideshow with Christie's photos, previously Julie's state image, and the bingo board and badges of how many years.
Have y'all discussed something for the survivors yet?
We have not. Other than we always have, Pam, as you know, just probably, being around veteran, for those that have attended, we get those stickers that kind of go on the bottom of your name tag that say one is caregiver, one is survivor. I think we have Cancer Action member. I forget what the other ones are that automatically come to us, but basically we'll give everyone a badge, and you can put your stickers of what's relevant to you, whether you're a survivor, caregiver, member. I can't remember if there are others, but we will definitely have those. But if there's anything in addition, did you have something in mind for recognizing survivors, Pam?
Not in
Outside of
particular.
those?
Not in particular, but we always, of course, have them all stand up and applaud them. But
Right.
if there were any special things that they could get additional prizes or something, because we will have a lot of survivors.
Yeah, when we have them stand, if there's something we could give out to them and in the beginning of the program. a gift of some kind.
Well, even if it's just a ribbon for them to wear on their lapel,
Right.
a actual ribbon. And if we had like various colors, it could actually be the color of their cancer or whatever. Whether it's ribbon or a paper ribbon or whatever.
I like it. Are there any other ideas? And I know we're a few minutes over, so we can wrap it up and see if folks have additional to jump in. So I'll send a follow-up, and if anyone's interested in being a part of, I have who signed up under the engagement section in particular too, when they filled out their survey for wanting to join this planning committee for the engagement. But I'll send it to everyone, all 12 of us, who might want to help us with the Lights of Hope table and our sticky note, or whatever it may be, image of a cancer ribbon activity. So we can get a handful at each of those, at least 2, I would say minimum, probably, for each table of those 2.
And one last thing, when we were talking about the program, one presentation that I really liked and I think is very beneficial is what was given by Rep West and one of his staffers. And they were basically talking about the importance of talking with staff members, basically to let us know that we weren't, we shouldn't feel slighted because we were not talking to our lawmaker, but we were talking to a staff member instead. It was a really good presentation.
That's a really great point. Yeah, kind of. And I wonder if we could even have someone who would be willing to help with that as part of our pre-attendance, like our slide deck. These little snippet videos that we're wanting to incorporate into our slide deck. I know that's part of what the training committee has thought about. Instead of these long training videos, we're going to kind of try to make them shorter and incorporated links to our training guidebook. I wonder if that could be part of, because we emphasize quite a bit in our training guidebook how important it still is that you're meeting with staff and to still thank them and know how important it is still to meet with them. So I really do like that idea of, even if we couldn't get someone day of, if we could think of a way to incorporate that prior as part of our guidebook.
Sarah, I know that Will is quite the videographer. Could he take some live shots of people sitting down with elected officials? I don't know, this is probably throw it to Leo. Maybe not so much the entire spiel, but maybe some people having a conversation with staff, or like walking down the halls and figuring out where their room is, and something that we could use in the future.
Just short little snippets, you mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking like 15-second snippets.
Well, I think that was what I felt was so beneficial when we did our training videos, when you and I handled what to expect and what to wear. We went to the State House and recorded them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think if we could do that in advance and incorporate some photos like that in our guidebook, it would be impactful. So it's something we could try to do leading up to the event, to have actual photos included in our training guidebook of these various things like we've talked about. The map room, or yeah, we could try to have real live examples in advance, whether it's old photos that Chuck's already taken that we have, or if we need to go get some new photos of things. I like that idea as visual to emphasize in our training material.
You mentioned what to wear, and just, a thought. If we go through with the t-shirt fundraiser, any way we can wear those to Cancer Action Day?
I guess it would be only if we start that fundraiser in advance of our date and if they get them to us in time.
If it's the same vendor as Michigan, they may wait until the entire sale date is over before they'll send any.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said is the process. Yeah.
Okay. All right, it was just a thought.
No, it's
It's
a
a
great
good one.
idea. It is a good
It's a good
one.
one,
Yeah,
Tam.
matching
I-
shirts.
I will say a lot of larger groups will do that, right, for
Mhm.
their advocacy day, is they all wear, kind of like what we do in DC, right? Everyone has the same
Mhm.
polo, same thing, right? Everyone has the same t-shirt. But yeah, I worry about the turnaround time. But
Right.
I mean, if it's something we want to seriously do, if we can't pull it off this year, we can start thinking ahead to next year. But I think it is a good idea.
Yeah, I remember the year those red shirts was just flooded the Rife Center. They were Moms Demand
Oh.
Action, whatever, the
The gun
Yes.
violence group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
they're
remember
very
that.
well
spotted
branded.
them all over the Rife Center and the State House.
I do remember that year. planning.
Didn't miss
Yeah.
them at all.
That's so true. I do remember that. Like, whoa, look at this group. Yeah, you couldn't miss it. I do remember that. No, and it's definitely something I could bring up to Lauren and above for budgeting purposes too, right? Because that's a broad conversation um, for us to consider for the future if we wanted to try to give shirts, I guess, outside of
Well,
not
I
just the
was thinking that
fundraising.
people would buy their own and we could raise some money at the same time.
Sure. No, I agree. Yeah, if we want to strategically plan our fundraiser in advance, or it's just a question I can follow up and ask about shirts. I know some states that do that, so it doesn't
Sarah,
hurt to ask.
before you make a definitive decision, you need to talk to Tom Pamer. Because that's exactly what he used to do, and he may have some contacts.
For discount, yeah, relationships, definitely for print
Mhm.
on the same wavelength as yeah, for sure.
You
And I know
you can use the line, buy one of our fundraiser t-shirts and you can wear the t-shirt. Otherwise, it's business casual, folks.
right. True. I like it. All good
with a
thoughts.
t-shirt.
We have a good follow-up email to send to our whole group for next steps. I really, really appreciate all the ideas and feedback. And if you're on the training committee, I'll see you Thursday evening for our next steps on that subcommittee. But really appreciate all the time and ideas, and we'll get our group moving on some of these activities and engagement pieces. I'm excited. Thank you all. We'll talk soon. Have a good rest of your night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.